Hey there, it's Chris Smith with GetMoreFurnitureBuyers.com, and I wanted to shoot a quick video with one of my clients that I've been with for coming up on 7 years. This is actually kind of a part two to a video that we shot a few years ago. Um, explaining, what it's like working with me, the results that we've gotten, and how the marketing's been going. So I want to shoot this part two because it is like just a little over the 7 year mark of me and Mark actually working together. We started out when he was out in Tucson, Arizona. He was running a mattress only type outfit, grew that to 3 locations, then moved to Texas and started with one location out of a pretty small showroom, and then grew that out and then actually opened up a second location. So now he's got two, one in Early and one in Stephenville. And again, this is just kind of a recap to kind of get it from Mark's point of view of what it's been like, as far as like marketing, working with me and how it's gone for him. So on that note, I want to introduce you to Marc Galyean of Just Right Furniture Gallery out of Early, Texas. How you doing, Mark?
Good. How you doing, Chris?
Not too bad, not too bad. Trying to stay cool up here.
Good. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just wanted to ask you a few questions to kind of, and then let you kind of speak in your own words of what it's been like over the last 7 years. It kind of seems weird that it's been that long. Because in that time we've also kind of become friends and stuff like that. So, and as mentioned, you're wearing your NutriShop shirt, which is another
Yep.
project that I help you on. So it's kind of funny.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So all right. So yeah. So in looking back, when we first started working together, like, do you remember like what your marketing looked like? Even like thinking more like Tucson, because we basically mimicked that over in Early. But do you remember what that was kind of like back then?
Tucson is actually it's a tough market, and it's not rated very high of places to start a business. And so we got there, and we started up the mattress store first, right? And so our numbers were pretty low, and I'm pretty ambitious with marketing anyways. So it was kind of like the era where Craigslist is kind of coming out, but then sponsored ads are starting to come in and all that stuff. So, but we did our best to get the word out, through Craigslist or through other like maybe like boosted posts on Facebook and stuff like that. But I knew there was something else out there, and we were honestly contemplating on move on to 9 to 5 jobs, and that's when I came across one of your ads on Facebook, and I was just looking for different alternatives because I knew there's something out there, and for something that I work hard for, I didn't want to just give it up. And that's the moment that I reached out to you, and I actually reached out to somebody else as well, out of San Diego. And
Mhm.
as you remember, Chris, I talked to both of you guys, and both of you guys actually had a lot of good things to say. And honestly, I could have went with either one of them. But what stood apart, with you, Chris, as you know, is there was nothing really like pushy about it. You even said at one point, you said, "Hey, you got to make the best decision for yourself." And to me, that created a lot of value, within you and integrity. So it wasn't like, "Hey, you go with me or else you're going to fail." It was just like, "Hey, dude, you got to go with what's best for you, but here's what I can do for you. If you choose me, it's going to be a good choice, and we'll move forward from there." So,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I always try to express to whenever I'm, talking to leads and prospects. I'm like, listen, I'm not a hard closer. It's literally I want it to make sense for both of us because, at the end of the day, I want it to be a win-win. Um, and I'm glad that came through. And so yeah. Now, did the results kind of surprise you, or what happened like after we started running ads? Were you like, holy crap, this is great, or were you like, yeah, what did you think?
it really did surprise me, Chris. You've delivered as promised for one. We talked about lead generation and all that stuff, and from day one when you launched our sponsored ads, we started getting leads immediately.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, it was up to us, how we respond and how we nurture those leads. And I'm the type of person that I want to maximize on my investment, and
Mhm.
so I wanted to make sure that every single one of those leads we're getting answered. And even 10 o'clock at night, or 5 o'clock in the morning, we were answering leads. So yeah, I was definitely surprised. So basically, we took our business from, hey, we're like 2 weeks, out that we're probably going to shut it down, or we're going to give this all we got. I'm going to maximize on my leads, and we're going to get more customers. And honestly, like as you know, Chris, it only went up from there, and then we expanded from one store in Tucson to two to three stores, and then we moved on to Texas. So
Yep. All right. And so this is kind of the fast forward from there, 7 years later. I kind of wrote a funny one. So seven years is a long time. Why haven't you
yeah,
fired Chris yet?
yeah, it doesn't even seem like it's been 7 years, and honestly, we've become friends. We talk about all kinds of cool things, and honestly, we should probably do some kind of a podcast together. But that's the beauty of it. We've grown a relationship as well, and but yeah, it's been 7 years, and yeah, I wouldn't give it back for sure.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into the next one. It's like looking at it as like a trust and partnership. So, um, like whenever like you'll have an idea or I'll have an idea, and then we kind of bounce it off each other. Like, do you feel like we're right more times than not, or do you feel like it's basically do you have that like what caused that level of trust, I guess, to when we do bounce ideas and we test out new angles and new campaigns or even new services or whatever?
Well, the cool thing, we have different types of advertising that we do. Obviously, Facebook is one of our main resources of advertising, but I talk to a lot of different advertisers. That's including newspaper, radio, and just even other resources of like we've entertained with digital marketing. But what makes you different is that they basically leave it up to me, like what kind of ad do you want to run, what do you want to do, all that stuff. So there's really no brainstorming on their end, and that's what I
Yeah.
appreciate with working with you. It's like, hey dude, I have this great idea. I mean, you've texted me several times or called me like, dude, I had this great idea, why don't we try this with the furniture campaign, or why don't we do this, or when we're collaborating together, when we're talking, it's like, hey, let's do this or that. So you help me with the brainstorming, which again, that adds a ton of value
Mhm.
to me. So it's just not on my shoulders, but you're helping me think too. So yeah, you're working for it just as much as I am.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's where I always try to express to people is that's where like they'll say, well, what makes you different? I'm like, well, with most agencies, after you're done talking to the sales guy and they close you, you get handed off to a customer service rep that may or may not be in the country or whatever. And they're not really strategists. They're more like in case there's complaints, you just handle the complaints, but they don't get the strategy or the
Yeah.
consulting, or at the
Oh
very
yeah, and
least, you
you're
might get that once a month. But with my clients, I try to be as available as I can, and I'm pretty responsive, I feel. And that's kind of what I feel like I bring to the table and can separate me from the other folks.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I've never felt handed off or ignored. I mean, granted, if I have an idea, we talk about it, I text you about it, call you about it, whatever. And most of the times, I mean, you get it up, at a decent amount of time. And but I understand that you have a workload as well, so just giving you a little bit of time to get it up. So, but that's not a complaint. That's just what we do with business, right? And
yeah.
but no, it's just understanding your time and understanding my time. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So now as far as business growth, how would you say your business has changed over the last 7 years? I know you moved and all that other stuff, but like how do you feel it's changed?
Well, it's definitely only changed for the better. So, we started out, just to rewind a little bit, just really quick. We started out in a 10 by 30 storage unit in Colorado, and obviously we grew from there and opened up so we had stores in Colorado, opened up the stores in Tucson. Obviously, that's when I met you, and then where it really exploded is really when we got into the digital marketing, or specifically Google, Facebook, and all that stuff. The sponsored ads, not boosted ads, the
Mhm.
sponsored ads.
Yeah.
And then obviously we were able to expand off of that because the return on investment is, I don't know, what would you say? I mean, we've gone over numbers, Chris. I mean, it's like 500% or whatever. It's
Mhm.
maybe that's not exactly right, but it's a huge number. And
Mhm.
so obviously that's been a huge impact on us being able to actually expand. And
Yeah.
but again, just making sure we're just responding to our leads and all that stuff. And again, I mean, we work our part, just as well as you work your part, and it's just been that's what's expedited our growth, honestly.
Mhm.
And because I've spent money on radio, I spent money on flyers, and all that stuff. But the biggest return on investment has always been through, sponsored ads. And
Mm.
but it's huge.
Yep. Yep. So would you say like, how is your, I guess, customer base changed, or, and what does it mean to know, like what does it mean to you to know, like, okay, I know my marketing's being taken care of. I know we're gonna have leads coming in, because I know with like market fluctuations and, economy or whatever, there's always going to be ups and downs. But like, how does it feel to know, I guess, that your marketing's being taken care of? You're not kind of missing blind spots, or you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it takes a huge weight off of my shoulders, and knowing that things are covered behind the scenes and traffic is still being driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether we're on vacation or not, traffic is still being driven. Granted, I don't care if I'm in town or 2,000 miles away, I'll still answer leads personally, but that's just me. And
Mm-hmm.
because it's the cool thing about the way you advertise and the way you bring leads to us is it gives us an opportunity to basically pre-qualify that customer and really build a relationship before they even walk in the door.
Yeah.
And so they build our trust, and we're able to bring them in the door, it's almost like they already know us.
Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of it. But yeah.
Yeah. And not for nothing. I use you guys as kind of a benchmark for like my other clients whenever they'll ask me, like, they'll say, "Oh, the lead's converting," or whatever, and I'm like, and I'll go and I'll look at like the messages that they're sending, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because somebody asked for a queen," and without even asking them anything else, you're just like, "We have them for 299. When do you want to come in?" And then they're like, and
Yeah.
they wonder why nobody talks to them, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's
We've talked about this a lot before, and about how businesses respond. And a lot of times, somebody, for example, you get a text from somebody, and there's just no emotion, no nothing. You're like, hey, is something wrong? But the way that we respond, as you and I have talked, Chris, is like, hey, I'm excited to see you. So it's like, hey, do you know our location? Like exclamation mark, or hey, so glad to, glad to talk to you, or whatever. I'd be glad to help you with that,
Mhm.
mattress, or to make your decision or whatever. But
Yeah,
so there's a lot of different aspects, when responding, and just making sure that showing emotion, like we're showing emotion right now. If I was
yeah,
on monotone talking to you right now, Chris, it would be a different story, and
yeah,
just bore people and just like, hey, this guy's really not serious. He's just doing a video just because.
yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like, because I can tell just like in talking with you and some of the members of the team or whatever over the years, um, the excitement does come through because it's like it you almost know that like when the leads come through, like they have a problem, and the thing is you guys have the solution because they've reached out to you from an ad by going, "Oh crap, that's a nice looking mattress. I need a new mattress." And then they come
Yeah.
to you, and then they're feeling like they're actually being heard. They're not being sold to. It's like,
Yeah.
let's help you solve the problem and make sure that you're getting the right mattress and all the other stuff. And I speak with so many other owners out there that are like, they don't they don't feel it's worth their time to put that much effort into every lead, and then they wonder why their results are the way they are because they're not taking the time to actually care. They're just looking
Yeah.
to make the sell or make the sale, and it's like, ugh, but that's kind of
Yeah.
it is a mindset. It can be taught and learned, but for the most part, that's just how
Yeah.
you got to
No, I,
be. You got to handle every lead like they're gold, and like they're a real person on the other end, and they have a real problem that you can solve. Um,
yeah. Well, just like any investment, I want to maximize on that investment. I don't want 20, 30, 40% out of that. I want 100% out of that investment. So really
yeah.
it's, obviously you could only do so much, but then a
Mhm.
lot of it, we have to do the rest. And it's just up
Yep.
to up to that that individual that's answering the leads and all that stuff. It's just like, hey, it's your hands at that point, because if they're not answering the leads, and but you're sending them the leads, the last thing that you want to do is be blamed, for for the lack of sales or the lack of people coming in the door. It's like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
sending you the leads, but how are you responding? And then
Yeah.
we've had those conversations before. So
Yeah. And I think a lot of owners, they kind of look at these leads, whenever they come in, and they almost compare them to like they think of them like it's a referral, and it's not a referral. It's a cold relationship that you're trying to build with somebody. Like I say, if somebody comes through the front door of the showroom and you say, "Oh, you're looking for a queen? We have them for 299 right over here. How much, where's your credit card?" Like you're going to ask them other questions. It's just You know, it's selling to, or, selling and closing leads online is no different than in person. You're probably not going to take that same approach, that approach if they're in person. Um, so it leads me to this next question. If another store owner told you, Facebook ads don't work, what would you say?
I would say, well, that's it. Either you're doing them wrong, or you just don't understand obviously the process. And one of the first things I would ask is how many leads a day are you getting? Based off of what you're doing right now. I mean, how are you advertising to your demographic? Are you doing boosted ads? Because I have actually had that conversation before, and Facebook ads don't work well. And sometimes it comes down to, well, I don't like social media. It's like, well, I don't care if you like if you don't like social media. If you're in business,
Yeah,
you need to just, even if it's just business side of things, you have to digital, I mean, if you want to be, if you want to get to that next level anyways, you have to do digital marketing. And
yeah,
so I'm not a Facebook, advocate either, or, not necessarily Facebook, or just even like, even social media in general,
yeah,
but I utilize it and maximize it for business. So
yeah,
the thing is if it's not working for you, obviously you're just not hitting the sweet spot in it. And that's where honestly I tell people, it's like, hey, you need to work with somebody that understands, like the behind the scenes, like deeper than you could go with a boosted post. And that's where sponsored ads come in. And
yeah,
even, obviously I'm wearing my NutriShop shirt. Even with NutriShop, right? There's a lot of like store owners, because NutriShop's a franchise. There are a lot of store owners that have done boosted posts, and yeah, you get some results, but it's a general public it's going out to. But the beauty of sponsored ads is, obviously, we could target, that particular audience. So I don't feel like I'm wasting my money,
yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I would guide them, and I have guided, people to you, like, hey, you need to consider like sponsored ads, somebody that actually knows what they're doing, because unless you go to, I guess digital marketing school or social media school or however you learn this stuff, it's like unless you have the time to learn it, you just need help. So,
yeah,
to me, the value there of paying for an expert that knows how to do it is more valuable to me than having that weight on my shoulders and trying to, run a business at the same time. I just want to do the fun stuff, which is answering the leads and all that stuff, and leave everything else to you.
yeah,
So
exactly.
not that your stuff isn't fun, but
Yeah,
that's your passion.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like with whether it's Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anybody can go, like I say this, anybody can go in there and push buttons and launch a campaign. But if you don't know how to create an offer, how to write the ad copy just right, know what actually works in the market, like for instance, I see like these companies will try to advertise like they're a big box store with like their images, and they just have all kinds of pricing, and it's like
Yeah.
you got so much going on. It's like, and that doesn't convert in local marketing, and that's where a lot of people will miss it. And I know this just because I run so many ads over the years that I know what converts, and a lot of it comes down to that. The button pushing, yeah, anybody can do that. But if you don't have, you can launch a campaign, but if it doesn't have like a nice compelling offer, call to action, who you are, what you do, where you're located, you know, it, a lot of it goes into knowing how to write good ads. And that's where, I see a lot of people, they'll try to just do like Chat GPT, and Chat GPT is not the answer. A lot of the stuff they put out is just, it's generic, it has no feeling, no emotion in it, and it's not written as like a person trained in copywriting would write it. Um, that's
Yeah,
so
it's
whenever
it's
I
just
hear
given.
somebody say that it doesn't work, I'm always like, well, let me have a look, and I can immediately see like within a split second, well, that's why. you know, your ad
Well, that's
doesn't
the thing is,
resonate.
giving it the personalized touch, like that human touch. I mean, obviously AI could be utilized as a template, but then I've even sent you, some ideas, utilizing AI, but then you'll
Mhm.
change it and give it more of a personalized touch, because honestly, overall, people don't want to talk. Excuse me, people don't want to talk to a robot. They want to talk to a person, and that's why,
Yeah,
steering away from even like stock photos, or sticking with like showroom photos and stuff like that. Actual product that you have in store, because people just want to see either other people or actually the place that they're going to go shop, you know?
Yep. Exactly. And it's the little subtleties and nuance that usually trips people up. And then they'll be like, ah, it doesn't work. And it's like, well, it could, but I've literally gone in and rewritten other people's campaigns and same offer, same, products, everything like that. But the way I've rewritten it and then positioned it, and it all of a sudden it starts spitting out leads. And they're like, oh wow, well, that doesn't look much different than my ad. I'm like, yeah, it does, because there's a lot of like persuasion and neuroscience stuff that you have to get in there, that if you know how people read and what triggers them, then you can craft good ads. And that's the problem, is like, Chat GPT, Gemini, all those other things. The stuff that they pull from is typically like big box store stuff. So they're only as good as what they're scraping. So it's like garbage in, garbage out. So I know that stuff doesn't convert. So why would I want to mimic it? you know, um, and that's the thing. Those guys can get away with it because they have, the $1 million a year budgets and stuff like that. But for like local, where you're kind of budget conscious, you still want to get your reach and stuff. You've really got to hone in and really use these finer points to kind of stand out. Um, okay, so next thing, last one I had section here is working together. What's one thing that Chris does that most marketing companies don't?
Um, well, there's several things, but just one thing.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, you can you
Um,
can you can do more than one if you want. Like I said, I didn't want
besides
this
talk,
scripted. I want people to be able to see, that it's genuine, and you're not being fed answers.
yeah, be, being besides talking about our workouts and all that stuff and all the supplements supplements that we take. um, So, one thing that I like that you do is kind of just going back to previous in our conversation is that you actually care and you actually brainstorm with me. And again,
Mhm.
that to me just builds a ton of value. And just knowing that you're available, whether I shoot you a text or download something into the task manager, I mean, you're very responsive, and that's what I appreciate, because I work with a lot of different advertisers, radio and some paper and just some other local advertisers, and nothing just pleases me more you know when I'm able to get the support that I need. So one of the things that's super important to me, even if I am buying a new product or hooking up with a new vendor, one of the questions that I ask is, hey, if we have a problem, what is the support? Because
Mhm.
for me to be able to reach out to solve that problem, super quick, and if there's an issue or whatever, that's important to me, and that's something that you deliver on, is being able to solve that issue and come up with a solution. And even though I might be, freaking out at the moment, you're like, hey, dude, we'll get this fixed.
Yeah.
Hey, in the um, and um, and then another thing that I appreciate too is that you don't just campaign like one single ad. If it's a bad picture, or if it's there's been times I've sent you stock photos
Mhm.
and you're like, hey, we could try it, but
Yeah.
here's my suggestion. Let's take a photo of something in the showroom or a quick video or whatever. You don't have to tell me that. You just
Yeah.
simply post a stock photo, because on my side, posting a stock photo is super easy. Now, but taking photos and doing a little video, all that stuff, those are the components that actually deliver and get the leads, because
Yeah.
compared to anything stock or anything just a quick ad, people could tell the difference. But
Oh yeah.
and that's the thing, you take the time to make sure everything reads and the copy is the way it needs to be. And so your integrity, to me, is one of the most valuable assets for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Great. Okay. Hmm. Here's a good one. If Chris disappeared tomorrow, I'm referring to myself in the third person again. If Chris disappeared tomorrow, what would be your first thought?
I'd have to kill you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I have no idea. Honestly, dude, I've actually thought about that. Like, there's been times, now very rarely, but there's been times maybe you don't respond as fast as normally you would, but maybe you're out mountain bike riding or something like that. And I'm like, shoot, I'm telling my wife, like, what if something happens to Chris? What the heck are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find. it is super hard to find, really good, quality people, again, because a lot of times you'll talk, to somebody, they're going to sell the product, but then you're handed off and to God knows who, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then you can be
Yeah.
handed off two, three, four times, and you got to work your way down the line. And that's one reason, Chris, why I've been with you, for so long, is simply because I'm always, talking to you. I'm never handed off. So I
Mhm.
don't know,
Yep.
dude. Honestly, I don't even like that thought. But
Yeah.
I'm sure one day you're going to retire or whatever. But
Yeah.
and both of us, maybe we just retire at the same time. But
There you go.
but
Yeah, I figured I
I
had to
I
ask
don't
that.
even
I was like,
I don't even like that thought. You know? So
yeah.
I don't like the thought I don't even like that thought, of having to look for another digital marketing person, because over the years I've been approached by several of them, and all ask the same thing, and it is a handoff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully you don't have any news of leaving anytime soon.
Yeah. I don't plan on it. And that's a thing. Like, so, like, I talk to so many stores owners and stuff, and they keep jumping from like marketing agency to marketing agency to marketing agency. And it's like, geez Louise, like, at some point you've got to, look at, okay, because sometimes there are some agents out there where I can look at their stuff and I go, it wasn't that bad, which then leads me to, okay, well, then it was another problem further downstream. That's usually when I look at the lead handling and stuff like that. But it's like, I hear so many that are just like, oh yeah, well, I went with this one, and then they never return my calls, or I went over to this one and the campaign's tank, and it's like, because it's, as you, like you'd said earlier, like they'll operate where, okay, you give me the images and they don't have any opinion on it. They just say, okay, yeah, we'll post them, and they post them, and they don't care about the outcome. So my goal is to, even if the numbers look good on my side, I'm usually asking you, like, dude, how is it turning out on the back end? Like, what did your sales end up looking like? Because then, I can have great looking metrics in my dashboard, but if it's not working out for you on the back end, then it's all for nothing. So it's like,
That- and
and
that's
again, that's kind of, I think, what I bring to the table and what I try to do with all my clients is, it's more like a partnership and a collaboration. Um,
uh,
and with uh for me, it's just because I know in order to get you guys the results, that's how I've got to be. And I
and that's
can't really
and
hand
that's
off that level of care to other people.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I don't feel like just another number, and that you're
Hmm.
just taking on clients, just to maximize on your personal income, and I think even you're picky and choosy about who you bring on,
Yeah.
because again, you want somebody that partners with you, that has the same mission and values as well as you do, and
Hmm.
because again, you don't want to be blamed for a lack of effort on their part,
Right.
and again, I mean, I don't, I think you should be. I think you should be picky and choosy who you bring on, and
Yeah.
because again, you could deliver as long as they're pulling the weight on that side. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm just yeah, don't I've never felt like just another number. So yeah,
Yeah. That's the goal anyway. That's what I try to achieve. So,
yeah.
um, okay, final question. If another store owner is watching this and they're on the fence about investing in digital marketing or in my services, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to definitely go for it. Obviously, ask your questions. Interview Chris like I did in the very beginning. I honestly, I would interview a few people. That's
Yeah,
fine. But
absolutely.
so I would be definitely confident in saying that. And but you'll understand, especially if you do partner with Chris, that the value that he can actually deliver with you. Because for one, you're going to go, Chris will go a step above and beyond of what most or any digital marketing agency will go. Because for one, he doesn't overpromise, but he over delivers,
Yeah.
and so that's the beauty with working with Chris, and again, he'll be able to maximize, because honestly, it's your money that you're spending, and again, maximize your investment, through the right resources. Choosing Chris for digital marketing, um, you really couldn't go wrong. So, but if you want 20, 30, 40%, which I don't know in this world who would only want that percentage out of their investment, you might as well maximize it with Chris and get your 100% investment out of it. So yeah.
Awesome. Yep. All right. So that that's the end of this one. Hopefully we'll do another one in 7 years and
Another 7 years. Yep.
yeah. Uh, so again, Mark, thanks for taking your time out of your day today. Appreciate it. I know you're shooting some NutriShop stuff next door,
Yep.
and I'll get that stuff
Yep.
uploaded for you. But yeah, on
Cool.
that note, thanks again. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this with me.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye.